Well, welcome back to the Finding Hope podcast. Today, we are going to be looking at Romans chapter 15, about verse 14, close to the end of the chapter. A message that Rick preached last Sunday, and today I've got Rick with me, as well as Jesse's back.
We're back.
Look at you.
Where have you been?
Just vacation, hanging out at the house, just living the dream.
Adding
Changed
to
a few diapers. Changed a few.
adding to the family.
Yeah.
No, it's been a couple weeks since the three of us have been in the room. I think 2 weeks ago it was just me and Rick, and then we had some guests in here last week while camp was going on, and so you might have to figure out next week too. Y'all can critique my message next week while I'm at camp.
Oh yeah, that's always fun to
So-
talk
Back
about
to
you when
camp,
you're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
in the room.
But that's fun. Whatever. But that's not the topic for the day. Today is where we're at here in Romans 15. A powerful message you entitled "Fulfill the Ministry." So, what you got, Ricky?
What do I got? Man, it's Thursday. Like, I can't even remember what I said.
It is, and people are probably
Yeah.
like, "Why has the podcast not come out yet?"
Yeah,
Well, it's
I
just
know.
been one of those weeks. So,
Structurally, it's just two really main sections. You've got a practical section, which Paul hits in verse 14 through 21. And then the next section is a lot of plans that he has that he wants to lay out as far as partnership with the Roman church. That's 22 through 33. The reason I kind of entitled it, the way I did, Fulfill the Ministry, is because I think every person that is born again is now, there is an actual ministry that's laid out in front of them. And so for a lot of us, it takes a long time to figure out, okay, what's that ministry? What are my gifts? What are my callings? What are those things? And I think part of the church's responsibility is to accommodate that, to show people, hey, I see these giftings in you. This is where you need to come in. A lot of times that just begins with serving. It just begins with saying yes to something and getting involved. And really, at the end of the message, I kind of hit on the small percent. I said 5%, and maybe even less than that,
Yeah.
of people that are really, truly just called, quote unquote, into the ministry.
So, before you go any deeper, like, what was the first place that you served inside of the church as God was working on you and calling you to the ministry? Because as you say that, like, I think about what in my own life, and so I'd love to. I mean, I'm sure this would be good for other people to
Cheers.
To hear. Oh,
Just-
no.
Yeah, seriously. though.
Cheers.
I mean, it sounds
Seriously.
so.
Early on in ministry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we started dating, we needed to get out of the group that we were in because it was not a good group of people. They're wonderful people, but what they were doing was not beneficial for Beth and I at the time. So we showed up, and I don't know why, and I other than the Lord had a heart for youth ministry, and I remember that was probably the hardest time of my life. The 13 through 17.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't had a youth ministry and some part and partial, and I just wanted to basically say, man, I want to help those kids succeed where I failed. So I came in and we started helping with youth ministry, and literally the first thing I did was stack chairs and just started doing that. And then that was probably, I guess, starting in April. We got married in October, and in December, we were the logistics team for what we called Between the Camps, which was like 350 kids came to that church, and we had to figure out all the bedding, like where they're going to sleep. We had 3 showers for 350 kids.
Oh,
the
my
hot water was
word.
probably out in 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? and then we had to come up with all the meals.
You got a 2-minute shower, bro.
You don't even have that. Like it's just, do you need a shower today? Yeah, and so
You were the showers police. I heard at camp.
Oh yeah, man, we had some kids that be stinking, and I was like, I had to be like, don't be stinking. And so Brent then made t-shirts
merch
of
out
it,
there
so
about
we
it.
got merch rolling.
So I do remember the last day of the between the camps, we were cooking like this. We ran out of food because we'd never done this before, so we didn't know like how much food to buy. So we found a box of.
You didn't have my pizza. You didn't have my pizza formula.
No, I didn't have any formula. So
dot numbers.
We had to run to the store and get a bunch of sub rolls and make some sandwiches, and then we found like a box of instant potatoes soup. And so we just took all of the leftovers, like I
think you've told this story before.
Yeah, well, we took all of the potatoes. I mean, all of the corn, like all of the green beans, and we just chopped up some ham, and we just threw it all in this soup. But we had one of those like army pots that has a very thin bottom to it. You know what I'm talking about? And the service went long and it burnt. And so the kids were coming up, and we couldn't stir the bottom of the pot because like so.
Just black stuff in my soup.
Yes, the kids would come up and they're like, "What's this?" And I was like, well, "It's potato surprise." What's this? It's ham surprise. And this one girl goes, "Why does it smell like sausage?"
That's what sausage is, a bunch of random stuff.
Burnt ham.
Yeah.
And so that was literally it. And we just kept serving.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything, but we were there when the doors opened. We helped clean up. We helped organize, the fun day events. We did just those kind of events. And then as we went through Bible studies and different things like that, I was eventually asked, "Hey, do you want to do the message tonight?"
Yeah.
And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And you're like, I don't know why I'm even doing this. And then from there, it just kept going and going. What about you?
Oh man, I got into in high school. Somebody asked me to do some sound stuff on an old like analog board, and at that point, like we didn't have any slides, only hymnals, and I do remember at one point like they started photocopying onto the transparencies and using the old transparent for a little bit, and I was like, dude, this is we need to get. So ended up like we got them into doing some screens and things like that, and transform some stuff, but it just was small stuff like that, like they needed help.
Kickback you get from going through the
I don't remember, I wasn't on staff, like I was, but it was one of those things I remember. Oh man, like we were installing projectors and people were like, it was that was but it was just sound. Like I started doing sound and started serving in that capacity, and then they needed a sound person for a youth worship that they were doing, and then it led me to leading with youth and different things, and it was just it's like you said, I just kept serving. Like I was there, and it's like I've never really done anything else. I mean, I've had other jobs, but I've done it since I got out of high school pretty much. And even at that moment, I didn't really know God was calling me into ministry, but it was just one of those things where I truly do believe that God calls his people to serve the church, and when he does that, he works in you. And if your yes is on the table, then it's going to lead to other places. Not all necessarily vocational ministry, but when your yes is on the table, you will do whatever it takes, and it just leads to opportunities. And it's just over the years, like seeing just practically right now, like where we're at is a wild moment for me and Katie, because we just announced that we're hiring Logan, And Logan grew up in the church that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And at that moment, what I'm talking about, Logan was probably 3 years old at this point in the preschool and all this stuff. And it's like crazy
About
to
just
think.
roasted
I mean, you almost roasted him?
Yeah.
He
So
got
was he
roasted a
still
lot
the
of
same
times at
height?
camp.
Was he still-
Yeah.
Love you, Logan. Don't let-
Logan, does he listen to this? I don't know if
He
he
maybe
listens to it.
sometimes, yeah, I don't know.
He got roasted a lot at camp last week. Somebody saw him over on the steps, and they were like, "Is Logan sitting or standing over there?" Anyways, that's what. But just seriously,
I thought it was a youth, and then I realized he had a beard.
But no, seriously, it's just seeing even serving that long ago, like with and now seeing
Yeah.
God walk or work through people's lives and call them into ministry. It's just it's wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
You're getting old.
I am getting old.
Jesse?
Yeah, I think it was a variety of things. Chairs, honestly, it was a lot of worship for me. My dad was a worship pastor, and so a lot of people don't kind of, every pastor pretty much knows like G, C, and D on a guitar and, and the keyboard, and you can jump in and do it for a minute until you're not good enough. But no, I think when I really began to realize that the Lord was calling me into ministry, it definitely started in youth. And I can remember just feeling like so unbelievably unqualified. I was surrounded by a group of pastors that I really respected and looked up to and thought, man, like they're just like, it's evident that they're called to do this, but I just still don't see it in myself. And I just remember the Lord telling me over and over again, because I like you said, the first message was just terrible, nervous as can be. But I just remember the Lord telling me, like, in the context of youth ministry, was just meet them where they're at. And for me at the time, we had a lot of kids who were into sports and different things like that. And so my role was, the one thing I can do is show them that I care about them. And so for me, that was showing up at their games, supporting them in that way. I remember after every youth gathering, we would go out and we would just play football. And I would stay out there until dark playing football with these kids. And just connecting with them more on a relational basis. But what I saw was that once I did that, the Lord just began to open up door after door, and he just gave me a little bit at a time. And as Will said, if you put your yes on the table and you're faithful with it, he just begins to use things that you don't even realize that he's going to use. You used an illustration. You're talking about the ant. That got me for some reason. I was listening. What I'm talking about? You're talking about considering the ant and how the ant brings one little speck of dirt over at a time, and he's just faithful with that one little speck, and he just keeps bringing it until he's really built a foundation. And obviously everybody knows about the transition between, Logan coming on as youth pastor and me moving into an executive. And me and my wife we had youth last night, and we were sitting on the back row just kind of watching youth take place. And honestly, like, we both just had tears come into our eyes because we're watching youth take place, and literally everything is operating and functioning perfectly without us.
Yeah.
And I thought back on one of the first Wednesday nights that I had at GMC, and literally I was doing everything. Like, I was doing the name tags, I was doing the game at the beginning, I was making sure sound was okay, I was jumping up there and I led the worship. I then took the guitar off and then preached the sermon, all while there was a team of volunteers just sitting on the back row with their arms crossed, not doing nothing, right? And I thought, this is awful. Like, how do we create a culture? And at the time, I just felt like I was failing at creating this volunteer team and this culture that wanted to serve and wanted to make disciples, instead of it all being about one person up there dancing. You know what I mean? And at the time, I thought, this is literally impossible. Like, I'll never be able to cultivate a volunteer team that wants to faithfully serve and use their gifts that God's given them. And man, we were sitting there last night, and Dave was up there leading the game, and the kids were like more excited than they've ever been. They came back from camp. They're all worshiping. They're raising their hands. Nate, who's also been leading worship now on Sunday was up there leading, and Logan's getting ready for his sermon, and he got up there and did probably one of the best sermons I've heard him do yet. And it was just awesome. It was like I've literally worked myself out of a job, but that's what we're called to do.
Well, see,
And I know that was a lot, but it was just like,
No.
this is good.
Yeah.
This is really good. But it was just really cool to see, and humbling at the same time, because it's like, Lord, now what do you have for me? Am I on the sideline again? And it almost was like this moment where it's like, God, please use me. Like, here's my hands. My yes is always on the table for you, Lord, because I know you've called me. I know you've set me apart. I know you have a purpose for my life, and I want to be used by you.
Yeah.
And it was just really neat to see last night. But yeah,
that's awesome.
There's plenty for you to do.
Enjoy this month.
I know it's coming down the pipeline.
What you went into is excellent, because unless we cultivate an environment where we're excited about others serving and we're not territorial, because that's where the church and church folk can get into this ideology of, this is my job, this is my area, nobody can do it like I can do it, and you begin to stifle growth instead of looking for people that look like you when you first started. Because there's this look, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's one of those things where when you see people that are serving, and it's like they are so happy doing the minimal.
Yeah.
Or the menial, I guess you could say. They're so happy holding a door open. They're so happy because I think for you and me especially, Jesse, when you get brought out of that lifestyle and God saves you, you are so grateful to be a door handler
Yeah.
In the house of God.
Yeah.
But you can get to a place in your life after many years of serving the Lord and being in church where you're like, well, if they take my job, then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And to have that
Well-
realization.
Well, I think so let me pause there, because I think that is a detriment to some, and I don't want to just necessarily say denominational, but some line of churches necessarily. Like that's the idea. Like, there's a ladder to climb. Like, I got to get to I'm trying to move my way up into some place, and that's bad culture. That's bad.
Yeah.
Like, I want to work my way to a certain point. Like, you always want to work to be better. Like, that's just, I mean, I think God calls us to do that, to do our excellent, to do our best. We're always going to work to try to be better, but it's not ladder climbing. And unfortunately, in the church, that is historically what it is. And so when you talk about that, like, someone, like, I got to do this, someone's going to take my job, like, that's not the idea of discipleship. That's not what God calls us to do. Like, he calls us to take what he's given us and to teach others to do the same thing. And it's replication. And so we should be striving to find people that can take our place, because there's always going to be, like Joby says, one more. There's always going to be someone else and some other place to say. It's never ending until Christ returns. It's never ending. And so it's not like losing your place, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, in the church world, that culture has been bred into certain denomination and certain church lines, and it's just it's a detriment.
I think one of the reasons is because in that culture, the kingdom is no longer expanding.
Yeah.
So as long as we can hold on to the fact that, hey, the kingdom of God needs to expand and expand and expand and expand, and there is no way that you Jesse could be doing what you did back at GMC now.
Right.
It would kill you.
Oh yeah.
You just couldn't do it.
No.
And so unless we open up space for other people to come in and to do this, and I'm telling you, if your heart is right and the culture is right, and your faith in God is to the point where you're like, there's nothing better than sitting on the back row and watching the kids and the people, the sons and daughters under you, run it.
Yeah.
And completely latch onto the vision and be like, they're killing it up here.
Yeah.
They're actually better than I am.
Yeah.
And if your heart's right, you're like so happy at that moment.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is amazing. Because like
Yeah.
I had to lay a foundation, and they are running on that foundation. And that's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. But very often, like you said, in certain denominations or certain cultures, it is a very territorial position to say, well, I don't think that they should do that because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, why?
Yeah.
You know, is it because it's taking over your position or whatever you're doing?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I went into in this message, is to show how he says something like, James, Cephas, and John all recognized the grace in my life and told me, you go to the Gentiles. We'll go to the Jews. And for those guys to see this dude who killed Christians understand that he's fundamentally changed. Like, God has radically changed this guy, and he's brilliant. And the call on his life is to go into unknown reaches and reach the lost. So we're behind you, buddy.
Yeah.
Go for it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll tell you too, there will be seasons, and I think all of us have seen this, where you're 100 miles an hour. And it's almost like when you finally get to a place where you're like, okay, we're running now, and you back down, you almost think something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you need to rest in the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, because there will be another season where you've got to
Yeah.
speed back up again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's almost like when we slow down to a normal level, we're
Yeah.
like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So I'm about to get fired or something. Something's
Well,
not
something's
right.
not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of sidetracked us there, but
No.
That was good.
it's, I think where you were going, and
We're
just-
speaking to that 5% though. You know, that's that he was kind of referencing. You know what I mean? That 5%.
No,
but yeah,
I
it's
agree.
good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think that, so often, people don't understand how to get plugged in, involved, and do inside of the church, and it's like, man, just we say it all the time. Just serve. Just
Yeah.
find a place to serve and get. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in anything crazy. Like, we've got some specific places. And some technical places, like if you can't sing or you can't hear sound, you don't need to be working in the worship department. Like, there's certain places where are technical. If you're not gifted to teach kids, then maybe you're best holding a baby, or there's places for you to get plugged in. Sometimes God's giving gifts to individuals that you've got to, if you're gifted in that or have the ability, and sometimes you don't know that, and that's okay. And sometimes God pushes you to do those things, and you're like, I'm not comfortable doing that, and all of a sudden it's like God's like, you're going to be comfortable because I'm going to give you what you need in it. But you just got to find your place to get plugged in. Even if it's a door holder, if it's parking cars in the parking lot, if it's greeting people, it's just find a place, make some coffee.
I think the three of us had the benefit of learning the secondary before we learned the primary.
100%.
And I think the thing that happened with me is what I began to realize is that everything's beneficial. Learning how to stack and fold chairs is a skill that we all still use today. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Learning how to set up a room properly, learning how to be hospitable and creating a welcome environment. That's critical, and to get in and learn how to run events. How do you order a bus and get 45 people on that bus from A to B? Like, everything is beneficial.
Yeah.
Everything. And as the knowledge increases, other skill sets open up. And I remember something really, really. This may seem minimal, but I was helping with a 5th and 6th grade class at one point, and one of the things they did in the 5th and 6th grade class every time they walked in is the teacher would say, "Okay, who wants to say the books of the Bible?" Because that was kind of a challenge that he always laid out. So kids would raise their hand, and they go from Genesis to Revelation, and I'm sitting here, 25 years old, and I'm like, these are 11 and 12-year-olds, and I don't even know my books of the Bible. And so it challenged me to go home, and that week, I learned the dang books of the Bible. And so I come back into this 5th and 6th grade class, and he's like, "Okay, who wants to say their books of the Bible?" And I was like, me.
Let me show that I can do it.
Coach, you know.
I'm ready.
But that was a skill that if I'd never been in that class, I'd eventually learned them, you know.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things that was a challenge to me to say, hey, where's your knowledge level? You know, if God has called you to teach, how much of this book do you actually understand and fundamentally know? Do you even know the books of the Bible?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
how this thing's laid out. And so I think for me, my biggest challenge was the lack of knowledge at the beginning, because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And really, that's where God had to work about 10 years on me to get me to a place where it's like, you're going to know the word so well that when you get up and speak, like the ant thing,
Yeah.
that wasn't in my notes.
Yeah.
It was just there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just these little pieces that God keeps connecting. It's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are we going off on this tangent? These podcasts. This is,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you know what I
like,
mean? yeah.
yeah. Well, I think too, you know, growing up in the church, like I would always listen to people, whether it would be on, you know, sermons or live or whatever, and you know, I would be jealous or just try to figure like, how did you come up with that on
Yeah.
the fly? And now I get like, been in ministry for 25 years or so, and it's like, oh, this is
Yeah.
this is pretty simple. Like it's, I mean, not simple. It just comes to you. Like you're just like, oh, like okay. I mean, like right now we're sitting here. We've got no notes. Like we're not like it's not. This is just us yakking. This is what God has done in and through us. And as we have conversation, things just boil to the top, and it's like, all right, let's talk about this. And
And again, it goes back to everything is beneficial, because all of our life experiences, God has shaped us in some form or fashion to come to a place where we can sit down for 45 minutes and just talk about
Yeah.
different aspects of this.
I think that shaping too is choosing to be dependent on the Holy Spirit. You know, you talked a little bit about that in your message of how we've got to continue to be a place who is constantly seeking after the dependency of the Holy Spirit. You know, and I think the more you do that throughout your ministry, the more you put that yes on the table, and you're saying this just looks impossible on the surface, but you begin to see, oh, he showed up here. You know, he showed up in this little thing, and then wow, he did that, and then it might have been the Hudson Taylor quote that you also mentioned. I thought that was really good. Help me with it. You were
First
like,
it's impossible,
first
then
it's
it's difficult,
yeah,
then it's done.
and then it's done. Love that, because I think we could all kind of look back on some of the things in our ministry or in our life and think, well, that was impossible. Well, it's kind of difficult, and then holy cow, it's done. Like Hope Church exists. You know, I mean, if you think about it, it's like wow, like it's just really neat.
Yeah. The other thought that I'd had too is in that kind of aspect, don't be afraid to try things, because you never know where the Lord's going to lead you. I mean, I tried my hand at praise and worship. I can play guitar. Not many people know that. But that's not my gift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just not my gift.
Well, every pastor knows G, C, and D. I told you
That's
that.
exactly right. I know E as well.
I just can't play an F.
Yeah, no.
I really can.
I
Like
can play a fake F.
I cannot. Like
So-
Cameron makes fun of me so bad, but anyway.
So it's one of those things where there's times where I think, you know, you'll have to do things maybe that aren't kind of in your wheelhouse, but I think God begins to develop that skill set in you to say, you know, you at least got a base knowledge of this.
Yeah.
You know how to speak the language, but you don't have to be that. You know, we were joking around about this yesterday that just the amount of processes that we haven't that are going on in this church behind the scenes, like we all have to have some level of knowledge of a database. And 20 years ago, you would talk to a pastor and be like, "Do you know database language?" And they're like, "No. I have an Excel spreadsheet. That's about all I got." You know, yeah. So, moving on into this, he begins to just go through different plans. The reason I've been often hindered from coming to you in verse 22, but since I no longer have any room to work in these regions, and since I've longed for many years to come to you, I hope to see you in passing as I go to Spain. I thought that was a pretty incredible a statement, because when you look at the actual map of where Paul went, and the amount of cities that he went into that had no knowledge of Jesus Christ, the Old Testament, anything, and to see, I don't even know how many square miles it was. I just showed a map, and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can today go to the Mediterranean, take a 7-day cruise in the footsteps of Paul.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.
Staff
We have some
trip.
friends that just went to. We
In
just
May.
have some friends. Actually, people who go to our church. Just went on like I don't know where they all went. I know they ended up stopping in Turkey and Ephesus, and like
Yeah.
he sent me pictures, and I was like,
Thessalonica and
man,
yeah.
I mean, all kind of places. Anyway,
Yep.
be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in our modern, I mean, just think about it. With our modern technology and with our modern travel, it still takes 7 days to follow Paul's footsteps, and you're only getting to see basically a glimpse
Yeah.
of where he went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's just why 16 of the books of the Bible he wrote that just
You're including Hebrews, right?
no,
Okay.
I don't know. 13. Is it
As soon
13?
as we think that debate's over, it just bubbles back
I
up.
can't remember. I can never remember how many it is. Is it 13?
Yeah, there's 27 books in the New Testament, so he wrote 13. If he wrote Hebrews, that would be 14, which is half the New Testament.
Okay, so 13. Some of our listeners don't have a clue what that. Yeah, but no, it's just it's incredible, and just the impact that and like for us, like the amount of preaching that we do that is from a Pauline perspective,
Yeah.
and it's it's crazy.
Well, the other interesting thing, because he tells us his desire is to go on to Spain. Most people don't believe he got there. You know what I'm saying? Because he was beheaded in Rome. So his plan was to keep going. I mean, I'm coming here. I'm going to get refreshed. I'm going to see you guys. I want you to pray for me and do these things. But my goal is just to keep on going. I mean, I'm going to go to Spain. He could have gone, all the way into Britannia. All of this stuff. But it is amazing how, looking back, there's always the Acts chapter 29. That we are the continuation of the book of Acts. But to say I have plans, but God actually has got the whole thing already mapped out, you're not going to Spain. Somebody else is going to have to, move on from there. And I think that's pretty amazing, is that just the continuation of the gospel that has basically reached the four corners of the world by now. So,
Crazy.
Yep.
By the way, there is an Acts 29 network
Oh, yeah.
of church planners. Anyways, that's really. I think that's one of the coolest things. People don't realize that. They're like, Acts 29. What? There's not an Acts 29. We are Acts 29,
Yeah.
and that's what this is all about. And,
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yep.
what else? Anything else?
No, like I said, I ended it with the 5%, but what I was basically trying to hit on was this verse in verse 31 that you'll kind of cover a little bit more. It said that I may be delivered from the unbelievers in Judea. And he asked for prayer because everywhere he went, the book of Acts tells us that he first went into a town and he tried to witness to the Jews that were there. And then they rejected him and he'd go to the Gentiles. And at the beginning of his life, in Acts chapter 9, it says that he proved that Jesus was the Christ, and they tried to kill him. At the end of the book of Acts, they're pleading with him not to go to Jerusalem, and he was like, you guys are breaking my heart. I'm going whether you like it or not. And they're like, let the will of the Lord be done. So he goes to Jerusalem. He spends 2 years at a minimum in Jerusalem, in jail, waiting trials. They finally get him out of that, and then he gets on a boat. He goes to Rome, and that's where he dies. So the beginning of his life, the middle of his life for Christ, and the end of his life was all done in persecution. And you don't want to sit here and on one hand sugarcoat it for people, but you also don't want to terrify people that are really being called into ministry.
Yeah.
So you don't want to sit here and be like, look, it's going to be a bed of roses. You're going to have a multi-million-dollar national ministry. You'll probably have an airplane, all of these things. And then you also don't want to be like, no, it's going to be the worst experience of your life, but God's called you to do it, so
Yeah.
suck it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a balance there. I don't think that. I mean, first of all, everybody's experience is different, and I think, first of all, God puts you through that journey, and He knows what you can handle and what you can't, and certain people.
Yeah.
So there's just His sovereignty in that, but you don't want to just sugarcoat it because it's not easy. But if God's called you to it, you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we're going to talk about Sunday. That it's like I told Rick, there's 4 verses at the end of 15 that I just think have to be addressed. And one of the things that Paul does is he says, "I appeal to you," and it's an interesting thing that kind of made me pause, and I went into it, and I'm going to dive into that deeper. But like he's appealing to this group of believers to pray for him earnestly, like he is. It's like you plead with your kid or someone who's like, I need your help. Like, and it's significant. He doesn't do that a whole lot. And it's like, I mean, he does it a lot through his writings, but not in this
the
book.
other times he's saying, I appeal to you to walk worthy of the call
Yeah.
with which you've been called. I appeal to you to follow God.
Yeah.
This is one of the first times that he's actually praying for a personal need.
Yeah.
I appeal to you to,
Yeah,
hey,
like,
I
well, he
need your
does it
help.
in 16. He says, I appeal to you, brothers, to watch out for those who cause a division or
Yeah.
create obstacles. And so this is one where he's selfishly saying, man, I need your help. This is Paul.
Yeah.
This is dude who knows his stuff. That's, I mean, traveled, been the forerunner of the gospel going forth. And he's like, man, I need you to pray for me. Can you just pray for me? And I think far too often we neglect that inside of the church, that we as pastors would ask the congregation to pray for us, as leaders, as elders, that we would ask for you to pray for us, but also individuals that we would ask each other, man, I am struggling.
Yeah.
Would you pray with me? Like I'm dealing with this thing. And I think a lot of that comes back to pride, not wanting to be vulnerable. And God's called us, like, this is Paul, the apostle Paul's like, I need your help. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons I really have grown to love Paul even more. Because every once in a while his humanity just kind of peeks in. And one of the funny ones is in 2 Timothy chapter 4. He's kind of ending the letter with some personal instructions. Do your best to come soon, for Demas, in love with this present world, has deserted me, gone to Thessalonica. Basically, Luke alone is with me. Get Mark, bring him with you, for he's very useful to the ministry. Tychicus, I've spent in Ephesus. When you come, bring some clothes and some parchment and this. And then all of a sudden he goes, Alexander the coppersmith did me great harm. The Lord will repay him according to his deeds. Beware of him. Like he's still
Tone
just
change.
sour over this guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
There's
God's
the sour
gonna
grapes.
get him. Yeah. Sour grapes. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now we're shifting.
So every once in a while, you'll see Paul's humanity. He's like, yeah, I'm Paul, but man, I need some prayers.
Yeah.
And hey, Lord, can you smite Alexander the coppersmith? Yeah.
Hilarious. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Anything else we need to talk about? Go into?
Nope.
No.
You already kind of gave us a preview of next week or Sunday.
Let's do it.
Yep.
We're grateful that you listen. If you do listen, if you don't, you should listen. But you're never going to get there because you don't listen, and that's fun. But no, seriously. I hope you join us on Sunday. We're preparing for sending our kids to camp
Kids
this next
camp.
week,
Yeah.
and so it's an exciting day. We'll pray over them, and got them going next week, and going to be 3 sermons left in Romans, counting Sunday. 3 sermons, so it's wild. Just been a blast. So
Yeah.
hope you join us 8, 9:45, and 11:30. Hope you all have a good day.